Before we begin, a quick and important note. The information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or another qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have seen in this presentation. The creators of this video are not medical professionals, and the content shared is based on personal experience, research, and general wellness principles. The alarm blares. It's 6 a.m. Before your eyes are even fully open, your hand is already searching for your phone on the nightstand. There it is. The screen lights up your face, a harsh blue glow in the dark room. And with that single action, the floodgates open. An email from your boss marked urgent. A news alert about something terrible happening halfway across the world. A notification from Instagram showing you everyone else's perfectly curated highlight reel. A text from a family member with a new piece of drama. Before your feet have even touched the floor, you're already behind. Your heart rate is up. Your mind is racing, calculating, worrying. You stumble to the coffee maker, your brain already churning through a to-do list that feels a mile long. The shower is a frantic 5-minute race. Breakfast is a protein bar you eat while trying to find your keys. The commute is a battle against traffic, your knuckles white on the steering wheel, as you listen to a political podcast that just makes you angrier. By the time you walk into the office at 8:30 a.m., you don't feel like you're starting your day. You feel like you've already run a marathon you didn't sign up for. You feel depleted, reactive, and completely on the defensive. If that sounds even remotely familiar, you are not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. According to the American Institute of Stress, a staggering 77% of people in the United States regularly experience physical symptoms caused by stress. 73% experience psychological symptoms. We're living in what many experts are calling a national stress epidemic. We wear busy as a badge of honor and exhaustion as a sign of productivity. But here's the brutal truth. This isn't living. It's a state of constant, low-grade survival. We're trapped in a cycle of reactive living, constantly putting out fires, responding to dings and pings, and letting the outside world dictate our internal state. We've become puppets, and our smartphones, our inboxes, and our 24/7 news cycles are pulling the strings. But what if I told you that you could cut those strings? What if you could wake up tomorrow morning and feel calm, centered, in control? Not because you quit your job and moved to a cabin in the woods, but because you made a few tiny, almost invisible adjustments to your day. That's what this video is all about. We're not here to give you a list of 50 overwhelming life hacks that you'll forget by tomorrow. We're going to give you 5 simple, science-backed wellness tips specifically designed for the pressures of modern American life. These aren't just tips. They are tactical shifts in your routine that will fundamentally rewire your response to stress. This is your blueprint for taking back control. It's about going from being a passenger on a chaotic roller coaster to being the calm, collected pilot in the cockpit of your own day. And I promise you, these aren't the same old tips you've heard 1,000 times. We're not just going to tell you to drink more water or get 8 hours of sleep. Of course, you should do those things. But we're going deeper. We're going to talk about how to perform a neurological reset in the first 5 minutes of your day to shut down anxiety before it starts. We're going to show you how to transform your dreaded commute, whether it's in a car or from your bedroom to your home office, into a powerful mental primer. We'll teach you a technique used by Navy SEALs to instantly manage overwhelm in the middle of a chaotic workday. We'll uncover a simple psychological trick to reframe your relationship with your to-do list, so it empowers you instead of crushing you. And finally, we'll reveal a shockingly simple rule for your phone that will give you back your evenings and your peace of mind. To understand why these tips work so well, you need to understand a little bit about your own brain. Think of your brain as having 2 key players in the stress game. First, you have the amygdala. This is your ancient, primitive alarm system. It's the smoke detector. Its only job is to scan for threats. A lion in the bushes, a swerving car, or an urgent email from your boss. To the amygdala, they can all feel the same. When it senses a threat, it floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This is the fight or flight response. It's incredibly useful if you need to outrun a predator, but it's terrible for trying to write a report or have a calm conversation with your spouse. The second player is your prefrontal cortex. This is the modern, evolved part of your brain right behind your forehead. It's the CEO. It's responsible for rational thought, problem solving, and emotional regulation. It's the part of your brain that can look at the smoke detector, the amygdala, freaking out and say, hey, calm down. It's not a fire. You just burned the toast. Here's the problem with modern life. We are waking up and immediately triggering the smoke detector. That email, that news alert, that social media post, it's all perceived as a threat by our ancient wiring. Our amygdala starts screaming, and our CEO, the prefrontal cortex, is still groggy and hasn't even had its coffee yet. It gets completely hijacked. So for the rest of the day, we're operating from a place of fear, anxiety, and reaction. Our primitive brain is driving the bus and our rational brain is tied up in the back. The 5 tips in this video are all designed to do one thing: keep the CEO in the driver's seat. They are tools to soothe the amygdala and empower the prefrontal cortex. They create a buffer between you and the chaotic world, allowing you to respond to your day with intention, not react to it with anxiety. Imagine it: waking up feeling rested and clear, moving through your morning with a sense of purpose, handling workplace challenges with a level head, ending your day feeling accomplished and at peace, not drained and defeated. That's not a fantasy, it's a skill. And we're going to start building that skill right now with the single most important moment of your entire day: the first 60 seconds after you wake up. So let's get into it. The first and arguably most powerful tip to building a stress-free day is to master your morning, but not in the way you think. This is tip number 1. Don't check your phone. I know. It sounds so simple it's almost insulting. But let me be crystal clear. Reaching for your phone first thing in the morning is the single greatest act of self-sabotage you can commit against your own peace of mind. Let's break down what is actually happening in your brain when you do this. When you sleep, your brain cycles through different stages, cleaning out toxins and consolidating memories. You wake up in what neuroscientists call a theta brainwave state. This is a highly suggestible, creative, and relaxed state. It's the state associated with hypnosis, deep meditation, and that magical hazy feeling between sleep and full wakefulness. It's a precious, powerful window of time. When you grab your phone and see that urgent email, that negative news story, or that curated post of someone else's perfect life, you are injecting pure, unfiltered stress directly into your most suggestible and vulnerable mental state. It's like taking a beautiful, clean sponge, your mind, and plunging it into a bucket of dirty, stressful water. That stress gets absorbed instantly and deeply. It short-circuits that calm theta state and immediately spikes your cortisol. Your amygdala fires up, your fight-or-flight response kicks in, and you've just programmed your entire nervous system for anxiety and reactivity for the rest of the day. You have lost the battle before you even got out of bed. So the rule is this: for the first hour of your day, or if that's impossible, the first 30 minutes, your phone does not exist. It's a hard rule. No exceptions. But my alarm is on my phone. You say, fine. Buy a $10 alarm clock. It will be the best $10 you have ever spent on your mental health. Put your phone across the room, in the bathroom, anywhere that requires you to physically get up to turn it off. This small amount of friction is often enough to break the unconscious habit of grabbing and scrolling. So what do you do instead? This is where the magic happens. You replace that reactive habit with a proactive ritual. This doesn't have to be a complicated, hour-long morning routine. We're starting simple. This is about creating a deliberate, peaceful, and intentional entry into your day. For the first 5 to 10 minutes, you are going to focus on your internal world before you let the external world in. Here are a few options. Pick one that resonates with you. You could simply lie in bed for 2 minutes and just breathe. Focus on the feeling of the air entering your lungs and leaving your body. No agenda, no goal, just being present. Or you could practice gratitude. Think of 3 specific things you are genuinely grateful for. Not just my family, but the way the sun is hitting the curtain, or the comfort of my warm bed, or the smell of coffee I'm about to make. This practice has been scientifically shown to shift your brain chemistry towards positivity and contentment. Another powerful option is simple visualization. Spend 3 minutes visualizing your day going exactly how you want it to go. See yourself navigating challenges with calm confidence. See yourself having a productive meeting. See yourself enjoying your lunch break. You are priming your brain for success. You are telling your CEO, your prefrontal cortex, this is the game plan for today. You are setting the intention. By doing any of these things, you are keeping your brain in that calm, creative, and resourceful state for longer. You are watering the roots of peace instead of the weeds of anxiety. You are telling your nervous system, I am safe. I am in control. You are starting your day from a position of power, not a position of panic. This single shift, this one decision to protect the first hour of your day from the chaos of the outside world, will have a cascading effect on everything that follows. It's the first domino, and when it falls in the right direction, it sets off a chain reaction of calm, focus, and resilience that will carry you through the entire day. So let's talk about what that really means. For the vast majority of us in America, the very first thing our fingers touch in the morning isn't a loved one, it isn't a glass of water, it isn't even the snooze button anymore. It's the cold, hard glass of our smartphone. And in that single motion, we invite the entire world's chaos into our bed. Before our brain has even had a chance to fully boot up, we're hit with a tidal wave. An urgent work email with the subject line in all caps. A breaking news alert about a crisis halfway across the world. A perfectly curated Instagram post from a friend on a lavish vacation, which immediately makes our own life feel less than. Each one of these is a tiny digital paper cut to our peace of mind. What's happening on a biological level is even more alarming. When you jolt your system awake with that kind of information overload, your body does what it's designed to do. It perceives a threat. Your adrenal glands start pumping out cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Your heart rate quickens, your muscles tense. You've triggered your fight or flight response before your feet have even touched the floor. You're starting your day in a state of reaction, of defense. You're not the driver. You're just a passenger reacting to the swerves and bumps of everyone else's agenda. This is why our first tip, the foundational habit upon which all others are built, is this: win the first 10 minutes. That's it. Just 10 minutes. Before you check a single notification, before you read a single headline, before you give your precious finite morning energy to the digital world, you give it to yourself. This isn't about adding some complicated, hour-long wellness routine to your already packed schedule. This is about subtraction. It's about creating a small, sacred buffer between your sleeping self and your working self. So what do you do in these 10 minutes? Anything but looking at a screen. Can be ridiculously simple. You could sit on the edge of your bed and just breathe. In for 4 seconds, hold for 4, out for 4. Do it 5 times. You've just oxygenated your brain and calmed your nervous system. You could drink a full glass of water. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, your body is dehydrated, and dehydration itself can cause fatigue and anxiety. You're literally giving your cells the fuel they need to function. You could walk to a window, or better yet, step outside for 60 seconds. Getting direct sunlight in your eyes within the first hour of waking helps to regulate your circadian rhythm, telling your brain definitively, it's daytime. Time to be alert and focused. This leads to better energy during the day and deeper sleep at night. Or you could do a simple 2-minute stretch. Reaching your hands to the sky, touching your toes, feeling your body wake up. The point isn't what you do. The point is that you are the one deciding what to do. You are setting the tone. You are consciously choosing calm over chaos, intention over reaction. You are telling yourself and the world that your well-being comes first. By reclaiming just these first 10 minutes, you're not just delaying the stress of the day. You're fundamentally changing your relationship with it. You're building a foundation of inner calm, so that when the inevitable emails and demands do start rolling in, they land on solid ground, not on a nervous system that's already been pushed into overdrive. Once you've established this morning anchor, this non-negotiable pocket of peace, you can start to think about the next phase. How do you protect that calm as you move through the relentless pace of a modern American day? This brings us to our second tip, and it's a concept that our hustle-obsessed culture often treats as a weakness, when in reality it is a superpower. Master the art of the strategic pause. Think about your typical workday. It's a marathon of inputs. Back-to-back Zoom meetings where you're trying to look engaged, while secretly answering an urgent Slack message from your boss. The constant ping of email notifications, each one a potential problem to be solved. The pressure to be responsive, to be available, to be on from 9 to 5, or more realistically from 8 to 7. Our brains were never designed for this kind of sustained, high-frequency digital stimulation. Imagine your brain is a laptop. In the morning, you start with a clean desktop. But with every email you open, every meeting you join, every news article you skim, it's like opening a new browser tab. By 11 a.m., you have 30 tabs open. By 2 p.m., you have 50. The fan is whirring, the system is lagging, and everything takes just a little bit longer. You try to switch from the Q3 budget tab to the client proposal tab, and the whole thing just freezes for a second. That feeling, that mental lag, that's decision fatigue. It's cognitive overload. And if you just keep opening more and more tabs without ever closing any, eventually the system crashes. That crash is burnout. The strategic pause is your Control-Alt-Delete. It's the act of intentionally and briefly closing all the tabs to let the processor cool down. We're not talking about taking a 2-hour lunch or skipping out on your responsibilities. We're talking about microdoses of disconnection sprinkled throughout your day. Here's how you do it. Set a simple timer on your phone or computer for 25 minutes. For those 25 minutes, you focus on one single task. No email, no distractions. When the timer goes off, you get up from your chair for 5 minutes. This is the Pomodoro technique, but with a wellness twist. During that 5-minute break, you are forbidden from checking your phone. Instead, you walk to the kitchen and refill your water. You look out a window and focus your eyes on the furthest thing you can see. A tree, a cloud, a building in the distance. This relaxes your eye muscles, which have been strained from staring at a screen 2 feet from your face. You do a few shoulder rolls. You stretch your back. You detach completely from the task at hand. What this does is it allows your brain to shift from the highly focused, energy-intensive task-positive network to the more relaxed, creative default mode network. That 5-minute pause isn't wasted time. It's during these moments of unfocused rest that your brain consolidates information, makes creative connections, and solves problems that you were stuck on just moments before. It's the mental equivalent of coming up for air. You dive deep for 25 minutes, then you surface for 5. This rhythm is not only more sustainable, it's more productive. Another strategic pause is the lunchtime reset. In America, the sad desk lunch has become a bizarre badge of honor. We eat a sandwich with one hand while typing with the other, proving how busy and important we are. This is neurologically insane. It keeps our bodies in a low-grade state of stress, which inhibits proper digestion and prevents any real mental recovery. The challenge is to take just 10 minutes of your lunch break and go for a walk. No phone, no podcast, no destination. Just walk. Feel the air. Notice the sounds of your neighborhood or your office park. Let your mind wander. You are creating a clear separation between the first half of your day and the second. When you return to your desk, you feel like you've hit a reset button, allowing you to approach the afternoon's tasks with renewed energy and a clearer perspective, instead of just dragging the morning's fatigue along with you. These pauses are not a luxury. In the landscape of modern work, they are an absolute necessity for survival and success. They are the moments that allow you to go from being a frantic operator of a crashing system to a calm, intentional architect of your own day. So let's start building. Let's lay the first foundational stone of that stress-free day. This brings us to our very first wellness tip. And it's a concept so simple, so fundamental that most people dismiss it as trivial. But its power lies in that simplicity. Call it the strategic reset. Now that might sound like a fancy term for taking a break, but it's much more than that. A break is passive. A break is scrolling your phone, feeling guilty that you're not working. A strategic reset is an active, deliberate, 5-minute intervention designed to hijack a stress cycle before it hijacks you. To understand how this works, let me tell you about Mark. Mark is a composite of thousands of Americans I've spoken to. He's a project manager at a mid-sized tech company. He's good at his job. He's dedicated. And by 2:30 in the afternoon, he is drowning. He's staring at a Gantt chart on his screen. The lines and boxes have started to blur into a meaningless, multicolored snake. An email notification pops up in the corner of his screen. It's his boss, asking for an update on the very project that's currently making his vision swim. His heart rate kicks up a notch. He feels a familiar tightness creep from his shoulders up into his neck. He takes a shallow breath, his chest barely moving. His focus narrows until the only thing that exists in the world is the blinking cursor on the screen and the mounting pressure behind his eyes. This is the moment of truth. This is the biological state known as fight or flight, or more accurately for the modern office, fight, flight, or freeze. Mark is freezing. His brain, flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, has switched from its creative, problem-solving prefrontal cortex to its primitive, survival-oriented amygdala. It sees the Gantt chart not as a project plan, but as a predator. The blinking cursor is the glint in its eye. And in this state, Mark cannot solve the problem. He can't think clearly. He can't formulate a coherent response to his boss. He can only stare, trapped in a feedback loop of stress. The more he stares, the more stressed he gets. The more stressed he gets, the more he stares. The old Mark would have pushed through. He would have chugged the dregs of his cold coffee, forced his eyes to focus, and hammered out a frantic, typo-ridden email, probably missing a key detail in the process. He would have spent the next hour in a state of high alert, low performance anxiety, only to crash later, feeling exhausted and defeated. But this is the new Mark. He's learned about the strategic reset. So, instead of doubling down on the stress, he does something that feels completely counterintuitive. He pushes his chair back. He stands up. That's step 1. The simple act of changing his posture from sitting to standing sends a powerful signal to his brain. It breaks the physical pattern of the freeze response. Step 2. He turns his back on the screen and walks 10 paces to the window in his office. He doesn't take his phone with him. This is critical. He is physically separating himself from the perceived threat. Step 3. He looks out the window. He doesn't just glance, he intentionally focuses his eyes on the furthest thing he can see. A crane on a distant building, a specific cloud, the top of a faraway tree. This is a technique optometrists recommend for eye strain, but its psychological effect is even more profound. By forcing your eyes to adjust to a long-distance focal point, you are telling your nervous system that there is no immediate threat right in front of you. You are literally broadening your perspective, which helps your brain do the same. Step 4. As he looks at the distant object, he begins a simple breathing exercise. It's called box breathing, and it's used by Navy SEALs to stay calm under immense pressure. It's incredibly simple. He breathes in through his nose for a count of 4. He holds that breath for a count of 4. He exhales slowly through his mouth for a count of 4. And he holds the exhale for a count of 4. He does this 4 or 5 times. Let's break down the magic that's happening inside his body. That controlled breathing is directly stimulating his vagus nerve, the superhighway of the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the body's braking system. It's the rest and digest network that counteracts the fight or flight response. His heart rate begins to slow down. His blood pressure drops. Oxygenated blood starts flowing back to his prefrontal cortex, the part of his brain that's good at planning and complex thought. Step 5. While still breathing, he does one simple, non-embarrassing stretch. He slowly drops his chin to his chest, feeling the stretch in the back of his neck. He then gently rolls his right ear toward his right shoulder, and then his left ear toward his left shoulder. He shrugs his shoulders up to his ears, holds them tight for a second, and then lets them drop with a sigh. This releases the physical tension that was reinforcing the mental stress. The entire process takes less than 5 minutes. Mark walks back to his desk. He sits down. He looks at the Gantt chart. And it's just a Gantt chart again. The lines are clear. The boxes make sense. He suddenly sees the dependency issue he was missing before, the bottleneck that was causing the logjam. The blinking cursor is no longer a predator. It's just a tool. He takes a calm, deep breath and writes a clear, concise email to his boss, outlining the problem and proposing a solution. He didn't just take a break. He reset his entire neurological and physiological state. He went from being a victim of his circumstances to the commander of his own biology. This isn't pseudoscience. This is physiology. The stress response is designed to save you from a tiger, not an email. The problem is, our brains don't know the difference. The strategic reset is the manual override. It's a way of telling your ancient reptilian brain, hey, thank you for trying to protect me, but this is a spreadsheet, not a saber-toothed cat. We can stand down. Now I know what you're thinking. I don't have time for that. My boss will see me staring out the window and think I'm slacking off. Let's dismantle that. How much time do you lose being stuck in that stress-free state like Mark was? 10 minutes? 30 minutes? An hour? How much time do you waste rereading the same paragraph over and over because your brain is too foggy to comprehend it? A 5-minute reset isn't a cost. It's one of the greatest time-saving investments you can make. A focused, calm mind can accomplish in 15 minutes what a stressed, frantic mind can't accomplish in an hour. And as for your boss, if they see you taking a moment at the window and then returning to your desk to solve a complex problem with newfound clarity and efficiency, they won't see a slacker. They'll see a high performer who knows how to manage their state and deliver results. True productivity in the American workplace isn't about being chained to your desk. It's about the quality and effectiveness of your output. This one tip, the strategic reset, when practiced 2 or 3 times a day, especially during those predictable afternoon slumps, can fundamentally change the entire texture of your workday. It stops stress from accumulating. It turns moments of overwhelming pressure into opportunities for calm clarity. It's the first, most crucial step in taking back control. But this reset is only treating the symptoms as they appear. It's a powerful tool for managing stress in the moment. What if we could prevent that stress from building up in the first place? What if the source of that afternoon brain fog and anxiety isn't just your workload, but something you're doing every single day without a second thought? The fuel you're putting in your body has a direct and often devastating impact on the fuel in your mind. And there's one incredibly common American habit, a ritual for millions, that is secretly sabotaging your entire day before it even gets started. I'm talking about your morning cup of coffee. Now hold on. Before you click away, this is not another video telling you to give up the one thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. I get it. That rich aroma, the warmth in your hands, that first bitter, beautiful sip. It's a ritual. It's a necessity. For many of us, it feels like the official starting pistol for the day. But the way most Americans drink their coffee is the equivalent of starting a 100-meter sprint by shooting themselves in the foot. The problem isn't the coffee itself. The problem is drinking it on an empty stomach. To understand why this is so catastrophic for your stress levels, we need to talk about a hormone called cortisol. You've probably heard of it. It's the body's primary stress hormone. It's what triggers your fight or flight response. When a lion jumps out of the bushes, cortisol floods your system. Your heart pounds, your muscles tense, your senses sharpen. It's an ancient survival mechanism designed to save your life. The thing is, in modern America, the lion isn't a lion. The lion is a deadline, an overflowing inbox, a traffic jam, a passive-aggressive comment from a coworker. Your body naturally produces a surge of cortisol in the morning. It's part of your circadian rhythm, designed to wake you up and get you moving. It typically peaks around 30 to 45 minutes after you wake. Now, here's the crucial part. Caffeine also stimulates cortisol production. So when the very first thing that hits your empty stomach is a jolt of coffee, you are pouring gasoline on a hormonal fire. You are telling your body, before your day has even truly begun, that you are in danger. You are artificially cranking your stress levels to 11, triggering that fight or flight response when you should be in a state of calm, creative, morning energy. Think about how that feels. You have your coffee, and for a few minutes you feel that rush, that I can conquer the world buzz. But what comes next? For so many people, it's not focus. It's jitters. It's a subtle, humming anxiety under the surface. It's a racing mind that can't seem to land on one thought. You sit down at your desk, ready to be productive, but you feel scattered. You feel restless. You feel an urgency that has no actual source. That isn't the coffee making you productive. That's the coffee putting your nervous system on high alert. You're not ready to work. Your body is getting ready to run from a predator that doesn't exist. And then comes the crash. Because what goes up must come down. That massive, artificial spike in cortisol and blood sugar leads to an equally massive plunge a couple of hours later. That's the 10:30 a.m. feeling. The sudden brain fog, the irritability, the desperate craving for something sugary or another cup of coffee just to feel normal again. You're not just tired, you're depleted. You've burned through your morning's energy reserves in a frantic, inefficient, stress-fueled blaze. And you're left running on fumes for the rest of the day. This cycle is the hidden architecture of a stressful American day. We wake up, we immediately stress our bodies out with coffee on an empty stomach, we ride a wave of anxiety we mistake for energy, we crash hard, and then we spend the rest of the day trying to claw our way back to a baseline that we destroyed before we even brushed our teeth. We blame our stress on our jobs, our commutes, our lives. But we rarely blame the first decision we made all day. So this brings us to our second simple wellness tip, and it's a game changer. Fuel before you caffeinate. It's that simple. Before a single drop of coffee touches your lips, eat something. And I'm not talking about a 5-course breakfast. We're busy. I get it. This needs to be realistic. This can be a handful of almonds you grab from the pantry. It can be a banana. It can be a spoonful of peanut butter, a hard-boiled egg you made the night before, a piece of toast, a small cup of yogurt, anything. You just need to put a small protective buffer in your stomach. What you're looking for is something with a little bit of fat, fiber, or protein. These nutrients slow down the absorption of caffeine into your bloodstream. Instead of a violent, sudden jolt that shocks your system, you get a slower, smoother, more sustained release of energy. The food acts like a time-release capsule for the caffeine. You're not spiking your cortisol. You're supporting your body's natural rhythm. You're giving the caffeine something to work with, rather than just letting it attack your adrenal glands. The difference is not subtle. It is profound. When you fuel before you caffeinate, you get all the benefits of coffee, the alertness, the improved focus, the mental clarity, without the damaging side effects. You don't get the jitters. You don't get the anxiety. You don't get that frantic, scattered feeling. You feel calm, centered, and genuinely energized. And most importantly, you don't get the crash. Because you never had the unnatural spike, there's no cliff to fall off of. The energy is stable. It lasts. You're not borrowing energy from later in the day. You're creating clean, efficient fuel to power your morning. Imagine starting your car on a cold winter morning. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach is like flooring the gas pedal the second the engine turns over. The engine screams, the car lurches, and you're putting immense, unnecessary strain on every single part. Fueling before you caffeinate is like letting the engine warm up for a minute. It's a gentle, intentional start that allows the entire system to work in harmony. You'll get to the same destination, but the journey will be smoother, more efficient, and you won't be damaging the engine in the process. Your body is that engine. It deserves a gentle start. This one small change can fundamentally rewire your entire experience of the day. It's a proactive act of self-regulation. Instead of being a victim of your energy levels, lurching from high to low, you become the conductor of your own internal orchestra. You're telling your body, "I've got you. We're not in danger. We're just getting ready for a productive, peaceful day." Try it for 1 week. That's all I ask. For 7 days, commit to eating just a little something before your coffee. A handful of walnuts, an apple with almond butter, even a glass of milk. Notice the difference. Notice the absence of that low-grade morning anxiety. Notice how your focus feels sharper, more sustained. Notice how when 11 a.m. rolls around, you don't feel that desperate urge to raid the vending machine or brew another pot. You just feel good, stable, in control. This tiny shift is about more than just coffee and cortisol. It's about intention. It's about starting your day with an act of nourishment instead of an act of stimulation. It's about treating your body not as a machine to be shocked into action, but as a complex, sensitive ecosystem that needs to be properly cared for. By addressing your physical fuel first, you create the calm, stable foundation you need to handle whatever the day throws at you. You've effectively lowered your stress baseline, giving you more bandwidth, more resilience, more mental clarity to navigate the real lions of modern life. But now that we've stabilized your physical energy, what about your mental and emotional energy? Because even with the perfect hormonal balance and the steadiest blood sugar, there is a silent predator of peace of mind that has crept into nearly every American bedroom. It's a habit so common, so automatic, that we don't even recognize it as a choice. A tiny, glowing rectangle that is secretly hijacking your brain and programming you for a day of distraction and anxiety, all within the first 60 seconds of being awake. And here's the crazy part. You're not just looking at a screen. You are actively inviting the entire world's chaos, demands, and anxieties into your most vulnerable state. Think about it. When you first wake up, your brain is transitioning from a delta wave sleep state to a theta state, which is like a highly suggestible hypnotic state. It's incredibly porous. And what are we pouring into it? We're pouring in a work email from a demanding boss that instantly triggers your stress response. We're pouring in a curated Instagram post of someone's perfect life that immediately makes you feel like you're behind. We're pouring in a terrifying news headline that sets a tone of fear and uncertainty for the rest of your day. You are, in effect, letting hundreds of other people set your emotional and mental agenda before you've even had a chance to set it yourself. It's like waking up, and before you even get out of bed, you let 1,000 strangers run into your room, screaming their opinions, their problems, and their priorities directly into your face. Would you ever do that? Of course not. But that's precisely what we do digitally every single morning. Let's look at what's happening inside your brain. Your body naturally produces a spike of the stress hormone, cortisol, in the morning. It's called the cortisol awakening response, and it's designed to wake you up, to get you alert and ready for the day. It's a healthy, normal process. But when you grab your phone and see that stressful email or that anxiety-inducing news alert, you are dumping a second, unnatural, and massive dose of cortisol right on top of the first one. You're essentially redlining your stress engine before your feet have even hit the floor. You're starting your day in fight or flight mode. And your body doesn't know the difference between a threatening email and a saber-toothed tiger. The physiological response is the same. Elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, and a mind that's primed to see threats everywhere. You are programming yourself for a day of reactivity, not proactivity. At the same time, you're hijacking your dopamine system. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation and reward. Every notification, every like, every new email is a tiny, unpredictable reward. Your brain gets a little hit, feels good for a second, so you keep scrolling looking for the next hit. This trains your brain to crave constant, shallow, easy stimulation. It short-circuits your ability to focus on deep, meaningful tasks that provide a much greater, more sustainable sense of accomplishment later in the day. You're trading long-term fulfillment for a short-term fix, and you're doing it at 6:30 a.m. You are literally training yourself to be distracted for the rest of the day. This brings us to our very first and arguably most powerful wellness tip for a stress-free day. Reclaim your first hour. For the first 60 minutes after you wake up, your phone does not exist. It's not a tool. It's not an alarm clock. It is a locked box of chaos that you do not have the key for. I want you to treat your phone like it's radioactive for the first hour of your day. Don't touch it. Don't look at it. If you use it for an alarm, and let's be honest, most of us do, switch it to airplane mode the night before. Or better yet, do what our ancestors did for millennia and buy a $10 alarm clock. The goal is to create a sacred, protected space for your own mind to wake up, to orient itself, and to set its own terms for the day ahead, free from the digital noise. Now I know what you're thinking. An hour? What am I supposed to do for a whole hour? And this reveals the heart of the problem, doesn't it? We've become so dependent on our devices for stimulation that the thought of an hour of quiet solitude feels like an eternity. But this is where the magic happens. This isn't an hour of deprivation. It's an hour of investment. You're going to replace that reactive scrolling with a proactive ritual that will fundamentally change the trajectory of your entire day. And it's built on 4 simple pillars. The first pillar is hydration. The moment your feet hit the floor, before you do anything else, drink a full glass of water. You've just gone 6, 7, 8 hours without any liquid. You are dehydrated. Your brain, which is about 75% water, is literally thirsty. Dehydration can impair cognitive function, cause brain fog, and contribute to feelings of fatigue and anxiety. That first glass of water is like a shower for your insides. It kickstarts your metabolism, rehydrates your brain, and signals to your body that the day has begun. The second pillar is light. For 5 to 10 minutes, get some natural sunlight in your eyes. This doesn't mean staring directly at the sun. Just step outside, or open a window and face the direction of the sun. This simple act is one of the most powerful things you can do for your mental and physical health. The photons from the morning sun hit your optic nerve and send a powerful signal to your brain to shut down melatonin production, the sleep hormone, and to set your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, for the day. This anchors your sleep-wake cycle, meaning you'll not only feel more awake during the day, but you'll also get deeper, more restorative sleep that night. In America, where so many of us suffer from sleep issues, this free, simple habit is a game changer. The third pillar is movement. I'm not talking about a grueling hour-long workout, just 5 to 10 minutes of gentle movement. It could be stretching on the floor, could be a few yoga poses, it could be a brisk walk around the block. The goal is simply to get your blood flowing, to deliver oxygen to your brain and muscles, and to release endorphins, which are your body's natural mood elevators. You're shaking off the physical stiffness of sleep and telling your body that it's time to be active and engaged. You're warming up the engine gently. And the fourth and final pillar is mindfulness. This is the simplest and perhaps the most profound. For just 2 minutes, sit in silence. No apps, no guided meditations unless you really need them. Just you, your breath, and your thoughts. Don't try to stop your thoughts. Just notice them like clouds passing in the sky. Then I want you to do 2 things. First, think of one thing you are genuinely grateful for. It could be the coffee you're about to have, the comfort of your bed, a person in your life. Feel that gratitude in your body. This practice has been scientifically shown to reduce cortisol and increase feelings of well-being. Second, set one simple intention for the day. Not a to-do list of 20 items. Just one guiding principle. It could be today I will be patient, or today I will focus on one thing at a time, or today I will be kind to myself. That's it. Hydration, light, movement, mindfulness. This entire routine might take you 20 minutes. It might take you 40. The rest of the hour is yours. Read a book. Write in a journal. Talk to your partner. Play with your dog. Prepare a healthy breakfast without distraction. By the time that first hour is up and you finally do pick up your phone, you are no longer a vulnerable, groggy victim of its demands. You are a grounded, hydrated, energized, and intentional human being. You've already won the most important battle of the day. The battle for your own mind. You're not reacting to the world's agenda. You're engaging with it on your terms, from a position of strength and calm. You've built a psychological shield that will protect you from the inevitable stresses of the day. You have taken back control. You've replaced reactive anxiety with proactive peace. Now, with your mind in the right place, it's time to fuel the machine. Because what you choose to put into your body in the next hour can either build upon this incredible foundation of calm, or it can shatter it into a million pieces. And it all starts with the single most common and most misunderstood morning ritual in America. I'm talking, of course, about coffee. And right now, I know what half of you are thinking. You're clutching your favorite mug, giving the screen a death stare and saying, "Don't you dare. Don't you dare take away my coffee." Let me be crystal clear. I am not here to take away your coffee. I love my coffee. This is not about deprivation. It's about intelligence. It's about transforming your morning coffee from a frantic, anxiety-inducing crutch into a powerful tool for calm, sustained focus. And the secret to doing that is our second wellness tip, which is so profoundly simple you might dismiss it. Please don't. The tip is this: hydrate before you caffeinate. That's it. Before a single drop of that dark, beautiful liquid touches your lips, you must first drink water. And I don't mean a tiny sip. I mean a tall, deliberate glass of water. Here's why this tiny shift will fundamentally change the entire trajectory of your day. When you sleep, you are in a low-grade desert. For 7, 8, hopefully 9 hours, you are breathing out moisture, you're sweating, you're processing the day. You wake up every single morning in a state of dehydration. Your brain, which is about 75% water, is thirsty. Your cells are thirsty. Your entire operating system is running on low fluid. Think of your body in the morning as a dry, compressed sponge. Now, what happens if you pour a dark, acidic liquid like coffee onto a bone-dry sponge? Doesn't really absorb. Most of it just runs right off, staining the surface, while the core of the sponge remains brittle and dry. This is precisely what's happening inside you. You're pouring a potent stimulant and a diuretic, meaning something that makes you lose even more water, onto a dehydrated system. The result? You get that immediate, frantic jolt, but you're not actually giving your body the fundamental resource it's screaming for: water. That feeling of morning brain fog, the grogginess, the slight headache, we blame it on a lack of sleep, but for millions of Americans, it's simply the blaring alarm of dehydration. And we try to fix it by dehydrating ourselves even further. It's physiological madness. But it gets deeper. Your body has a natural, beautiful system for waking you up. It's called the cortisol awakening response. In the first 30 to 45 minutes of your day, your body naturally releases a pulse of the hormone cortisol. Now, cortisol gets a bad rap as the stress hormone. But in this context, it's your friend. It's the body's own alarm clock, designed to increase alertness and energy. It's a gentle, natural ramp-up. But what do? We wake up, and while our cortisol is already at its natural peak, we dump a massive dose of caffeine on top of it. This is like trying to start a campfire with a flamethrower. You don't get a controlled, steady burn. You get a chaotic, anxious explosion of energy. You're essentially telling your nervous system to go from 0 to 100, from sleep to full-blown fight or flight, in the span of 10 minutes. This is the source of the coffee jitters. It's that wired but tired feeling. It's the heart palpitations, the scattered thoughts, the underlying hum of anxiety that you start to accept as a normal part of your morning. And this artificial super spike has consequences. What goes way, way up must come way, way down. By mid-morning or early afternoon, that cortisol and caffeine cliff is waiting for you. And when you fall off it, you crash. That 2 p.m. slump where you feel like you could fall asleep at your desk, where you can't form a coherent thought, isn't just a normal part of the workday. It's the predictable, inevitable hangover from the chemical chaos you created in your body first thing in the morning. So what do? You reach for another coffee or a soda or an energy drink, trying to recreate that morning spike, which only messes with your ability to sleep that night, leading you to wake up even more tired and dehydrated the next day, needing an even bigger jolt of caffeine to get going. It is the great American stress cycle, and it is fueled by that first cup of coffee on an empty, thirsty system. Let me tell you about a client of mine. Let's call him David. David was a classic high performer in the tech world. His morning routine was an American cliché. The alarm would go off at 6 a.m., and before his feet even hit the floor, his mind was already racing about meetings, deadlines, and problems he had to solve. He'd stumble to his high-end espresso machine, pull a double shot, and chug it black while scrolling through emails on his phone. He called it his rocket fuel, but it was fueling the wrong kind of launch. He'd get to the office feeling agitated, his mind buzzing with a frantic, unproductive energy. He was often short with his team, his patience worn thin before the day had even truly begun. By 3 p.m., he was a zombie, propping himself up with a third coffee and a handful of candy from the office kitchen just to survive the last 2 hours. He'd get home completely drained, with no energy left for his wife or kids. He told me, "This is just the price you pay for success in this country." He was wrong. I gave him one simple instruction, the same one I'm giving you. Hydrate before you caffeinate. But we added a little twist to make it even more powerful. I had him create what we call a morning mineral cocktail. It's not complicated. It's a tall glass of water, at least 16 ounces, with 2 simple additions: a good pinch of high-quality, unrefined sea salt, and a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Now, the salt is critical, and I'm not talking about cheap white table salt. I'm talking about Celtic sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, which are packed with dozens of trace minerals and electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Here's the key you probably were never taught. For your body to actually absorb water into its cells, it needs electrolytes. Water follows salt. Without these minerals, water can just flush right through your system. Adding that pinch of salt is like giving the water a key to unlock your cells and truly, deeply rehydrate you from the inside out. The lemon just helps to kickstart your digestive system and adds a little flavor. So David's new routine began. He'd wake up, do the no-phone sunrise we talked about earlier, go to the kitchen and drink his big glass of salt and lemon water. Then he would wait. He'd get in the shower, get dressed, and pack his lunch. He waited about 30 minutes before he had his first sip of coffee. The first day he said he felt a difference. By the third day he called me and his voice was completely different. He said, "It's the strangest thing. The brain fog is gone before the coffee." He was experiencing for the first time in years his body's natural energy. The water, absorbed properly thanks to the minerals, was rehydrating his brain. He was putting out the fire of dehydration instead of throwing gasoline on it. Then, when he finally did have his coffee, it was a totally new experience. He described it as a smooth, clean hum. There were no jitters. There was no anxiety. There was no chaotic, scattered thinking. The caffeine was no longer a desperate life raft in a sea of fatigue. It was a turbo booster on an already smoothly running engine. It enhanced his focus instead of manufacturing a frantic imitation of it. And the 3 p.m. crash? It vanished. Completely. He had steady, stable energy throughout the entire day. He got home from work and for the first time in a decade, he had the energy to toss a baseball with his son. He was present with his wife. He was no longer a victim of his own biochemistry. He broke the cycle, all by drinking a glass of water first. This is not a small thing. This is a foundational shift in how you manage your body's energy and stress systems. You are taking your morning from a state of chaotic, dehydrated, high cortisol stress and transforming it into a state of calm, hydrated, balanced readiness. You still get to enjoy the ritual and the benefits of coffee, but you're doing it from a position of power, not desperation. You've now reclaimed your morning light and rehydrated your system. You've laid the groundwork for a day of calm, focused energy. But there's a silent stressor lurking in your kitchen, hiding in plain sight in your healthy breakfast, that can derail all of this progress before you even walk out the door. It's something 90% of Americans eat every single day, thinking it's good for them, when in reality, it's setting them up for a day of cravings, mood swings, and another vicious stress cycle. I'm talking about your breakfast. Specifically, that bowl of cereal, that bagel with cream cheese, that sugary yogurt, or that piece of white toast you grab on your way out the door. This is the great American breakfast betrayal. For 50 years we've been sold a story of wholesome grains, fortified vitamins, and smiling families starting their day the right way. We've been told that a breakfast low in fat and high in carbs is the key to energy. But it's a lie. A lie that has created a nation of people who are tired, stressed, and constantly fighting cravings. Let's pull back the curtain on what's actually happening inside your body when you start your day with this kind of meal. Imagine your body's energy system is like a finely tuned furnace. It needs a slow, steady burning log to provide consistent heat throughout the day. Instead, when you eat a bowl of Frosted Flakes, or even so-called healthy cereals packed with hidden sugars, you're not putting in a log. You're throwing a pile of gasoline-soaked newspaper onto the fire. You get a massive, immediate flare-up. This is the blood sugar spike. All those refined carbohydrates and sugars hit your bloodstream like a tidal wave. For a fleeting moment, you might feel a rush of energy, but your body panics. This level of sugar in the blood is toxic, so it sounds the alarm. Your pancreas goes into overdrive, releasing a flood of the hormone insulin. Insulin's job is to get that sugar out of your blood as fast as possible. and it does its job ruthlessly. It shoves that sugar into your cells to be used for immediate energy or more likely to be stored as fat. And what happens after that huge initial flare-up? Burns out. Fast. Within an hour or two, your blood sugar doesn't just return to normal. It plummets. Crashes far below the baseline where it started. This is the crash. And this is where the stress cycle truly begins. When your blood sugar crashes, your brain perceives it as a life-threatening emergency. Thinks you're starving. So it triggers your adrenal glands to pump out stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, the very same hormones that are released when you're being chased by a bear. Suddenly, your heart rate might increase. You feel jittery, irritable, anxious. You get that foggy-headed feeling where you can't concentrate. Your hands might even feel a little shaky. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a physiological crisis triggered by your breakfast. And what does your brain scream for in this state of emergency? The quickest possible source of energy to solve the problem. It screams for more sugar, more refined carbs. So by 10 a.m. you're desperately reaching for a donut, a sugary coffee, or another snack from the vending machine. Not because you lack willpower, but because your own body's chemistry is holding you hostage. You eat that snack, you get another spike followed by another crash, and you ride this exhausting, mood-destroying metabolic roller coaster for the entire day. You're living in a state of self-induced chronic stress, all because of a decision you made within 10 minutes of waking up. So how do we break the cycle? This brings us to our third wellness tip, and it is a non-negotiable game changer. Win your morning with protein and fat. Instead of throwing newspaper on the fire, we're going to put in a solid oak log. Protein and fat are the macronutrients of stability. They are digested slowly, breaking down over hours, not minutes. They release a gentle, steady stream of glucose into your bloodstream. There is no spike. And because there is no spike, there is no crash. There is no hormonal panic. There is number 10 a.m. emergency call for sugar. When you start your day with a protein and fat-centric meal, you are giving your body and brain exactly what they need to thrive. You're building a foundation of stable, sustained energy that will carry you all the way to lunch and often beyond. You'll experience mental clarity instead of brain fog. You'll feel calm and in control instead of jittery and anxious. Your cravings will quiet down, often disappearing entirely, because your body is finally getting the fuel it actually needs, not the cheap, fast-burning fuel it's been tricked into wanting. Think about it. Protein provides the literal building blocks for our neurotransmitters, the chemicals in our brain that govern our mood. Dopamine, which controls motivation and focus, and serotonin, which regulates feelings of well-being and calmness, are built from amino acids found in protein. When you skip protein at breakfast, you're essentially sending your brain into the day's battles without its armor or weapons. So what does this look like in the real world? Simpler than you think. I'm not talking about cooking a 5-course meal. 3 eggs, scrambled in butter or coconut oil, with a side of avocado. That takes 5 minutes and is a powerhouse of protein, healthy fats, and nutrients that will keep you full and focused for hours. How about a bowl of full-fat, plain Greek yogurt? Not the sugar-laden fruit on the bottom kind. Plain Greek yogurt. Add a handful of berries for antioxidants, and a sprinkle of walnuts or almonds for extra fat and fiber. This is a breakfast that builds you up, rather than tearing you down. Don't have time to cook? No excuse. Hard-boil half a dozen eggs at the start of the week. Grab 2 of those in the morning. A high-quality protein shake can be a fantastic option. Just make sure you read the label and choose one without a ton of added sugar. Blend it with some almond butter and spinach. You can even rethink what breakfast food is. Who says you can't have leftover chicken and vegetables from last night's dinner? Your body doesn't know it's 8 a.m. Just knows it needs quality fuel. The key is to shift your mindset. Breakfast isn't a sweet treat to start the day. It is the most critical fueling opportunity you have. It sets the hormonal and neurological tone for the next 16 hours. You can either set a tone of chaos and stress with a bagel, or you can set a tone of calm, focused energy with protein and fat. The choice is yours, and it's one of the most powerful levers you can pull to fundamentally change how you feel all day long. By making this one single change, you stop the roller coaster before it even leaves the station. You reclaim your morning, your mood, and your focus from the grip of the food industry and your own blood sugar. But what if you do everything right? You get your sunlight, you don't look at your phone, you eat a perfect protein-rich breakfast. You've built a fortress of calm. And yet, by lunchtime, you feel that familiar tension creeping back into your shoulders, a tightness in your chest. You feel overwhelmed. It turns out, Even with the perfect morning routine, there's an invisible saboteur at work, a silent habit that can hijack your nervous system at any moment. It's not about what you're putting into your body, but about something your body does 20,000 times a day, completely on autopilot. And almost every single one of us is doing it wrong, feeding our anxiety with the very air we breathe. The culprit is your mouth. More specifically, breathing through it. This is our fourth tip, and it might be the most transformative one yet. For the rest of the day and for the rest of your life, learn to breathe through your nose. Sounds ridiculously simple, almost insulting, but the physiological difference between taking a breath through your nose versus your mouth is as profound as the difference between sleeping 8 hours and not sleeping at all. In our high-stress, constantly talking, allergy-ridden American culture, we have become a nation of mouth breathers. We do it when we're focused on a screen, we do it when we exercise, we even do it when we sleep. And every time we do, we are sending a direct biological signal to our brain that we are in danger. Mouth breathing is the body's emergency backup system. It's designed for short, desperate moments, like sprinting away from a predator. When you gasp for air through your mouth, you're taking shallow, rapid, inefficient breaths into the top of your lungs. This pattern of breathing is the signature of the sympathetic nervous system, your body's fight or flight response. It tells your adrenal glands to pump out cortisol and adrenaline. It increases your heart rate, tenses your muscles, and narrows your focus to immediate threats. The problem is, for most of us, there is no predator. The threat is an email from our boss, a deadline, or traffic on the freeway. By breathing through your mouth, you are keeping your body in a constant low-grade state of panic. You're revving your engine at a stoplight, burning precious fuel and creating immense wear and tear, all while going absolutely nowhere. Now contrast that with the nose. Your nose was not an afterthought. It is a highly sophisticated piece of biological technology, specifically designed for respiration. When you breathe through your nose, everything changes. The air is forced to slow down, allowing it to travel deeper into your lungs, where the most efficient gas exchange happens. This slow, deep rhythm is the signature of the parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest state. It's a biological signal that tells your entire body, everything is okay. You are safe. You can relax, you can heal, you can think clearly. But here's where it gets truly incredible. Your nasal passages produce a miracle molecule called nitric oxide. The mouth produces none. Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator, which is a fancy way of saying it opens up your blood vessels. When you breathe through your nose, you carry this nitric oxide into your lungs, where it widens your airways and arteries, increasing oxygen absorption by up to 20%. It lowers blood pressure. It's also antiviral and antibacterial, acting as your body's first line of defense against airborne pathogens. Breathing through your nose is like activating a hidden superpower that calms your nervous system, supercharges your oxygen levels, and boosts your immunity, all for free. Breathing through your mouth bypasses this entire brilliant system. It's like owning a state-of-the-art air purification system for your house, but leaving the window wide open to let in all the dust and pollution. I once worked with a hedge fund manager in New York City. Let's call him David. David was the epitome of American success, brilliant, driven, and wealthy. He was also a wreck. He survived on 4 hours of sleep, had chronic acid reflux, and lived in a state of perpetual high-functioning anxiety. He'd tried everything. Meditation apps he couldn't sit still for, expensive supplements, even a personal yoga instructor. Nothing worked. His life was a tight, vibrating wire. During a session, I noticed he was breathing through his mouth the entire time we talked. I stopped him mid-sentence and said, "David, for the next week, I have one piece of homework for you. No new diets, no new exercises. I just want you to keep your mouth shut." He laughed, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. I explained the science of nasal breathing. He was deeply skeptical, but, having exhausted all other options, he agreed to try. The first 2 days were torture. He said it felt like he was suffocating. His body was so conditioned to the panic signal of mouth breathing that the calm of nasal breathing felt unnatural, even scary. He had to consciously, deliberately keep his mouth closed at his desk, on the subway, walking down the street. But on the third day, something shifted. He was in a high-stakes meeting, the kind that would normally have his heart pounding in his chest. But as he focused on breathing slowly through his nose, he felt a sense of calm detachment he hadn't experienced in years. He was sharp, focused, but not frantic. That night, he slept for 6 consecutive hours for the first time in a decade. A week later, he told me it was like a silent alarm. that had been blaring in the back of his mind his entire adult life had finally been switched off. He hadn't changed his stressful job or his demanding life, he had simply changed the way he processed it, one nasal breath at a time. So how do you do this? How do you reclaim this innate ability? Starts with simple awareness. Right now, as you're listening to this, are you breathing through your nose or your mouth? For the next hour, just notice. Don't judge, just observe. When you catch yourself mouth breathing, gently close your lips and switch. That's it. It's a gentle, persistent course correction. If you want to feel the effects immediately, try this. It's a technique used by everyone from Navy SEALs to Zen monks to instantly regulate their nervous system. It's called box breathing. We're going to do one cycle together. Gently close your mouth. Now through your nose, inhale for a count of 4. 1, 4. Now hold that breath for a count of 4. 1, 4. Now slowly exhale through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 4. And finally, hold the breath out for a count of 4. 1, 4. That's it. That's one cycle. Do that 4 or 5 times before a big meeting when you feel road rage creeping in, or when you're trying to fall asleep. It is a manual override switch for your body's stress response. It is you consciously taking the controls back from your panicked autopilot brain. By simply changing the pathway of the air entering your body, you are sending a powerful signal to your brain that says, you are safe. You are in control. You are turning off the panic switch that has been stuck in the on position for years. But what if I told you that even with perfect breathing, your brain can still be hijacked by an invisible force, a mental trap that 99% of us fall into every single day? Our fifth and final tip isn't about what you do with your body, but about how you rewire the very lens through which you see the world. It's the key to unlocking a sense of peace that doesn't depend on your circumstances at all. This is the practice of intentional perspective. And before you click away thinking this is some vague, feel-good advice, let me be clear. This is a tactical cognitive tool, backed by neuroscience, that can fundamentally change your daily experience of stress. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which reality you focus on. Think of your brain for a second. It's the most powerful supercomputer on the planet, but it has a default setting, a factory-installed software from our caveman ancestors. That software is called the negativity bias. For thousands of years, survival depended on being hyper-aware of threats. The rustle in the bushes wasn't the wind, it was a saber-toothed tiger. The strange-tasting berry wasn't just bitter. It was poison. Our ancestors who survived were the ones who constantly scanned for the negative, the dangerous, the problematic. We inherited their brains. So in modern America, that ancient software is still running. The rustle in the bushes is now an ambiguous email from your boss. The poison berry is the looming deadline you haven't started. Your brain is hardwired to scan your environment and highlight everything that's wrong, stressful, or could potentially go sideways. It's trying to protect you. But in a world where saber-toothed tigers have been replaced by traffic jams and quarterly reports, this default setting just floods our system with cortisol and anxiety. But here's the incredible part. We now know, thanks to the science of neuroplasticity, that we can rewrite this software. We can train our brains to look for the good with the same intensity it naturally looks for the bad. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about consciously directing your brain's powerful searchlight. So, what is this fifth and final tip? It is the daily practice of evidence collection. Specifically, collecting evidence that the day is, in fact, working in your favor. Let me show you what this looks like through the story of two different people. Except they're not two different people. They're the same person on the same day with two different internal operating systems. Let's call him David. David wakes up at 6:30 a.m. In Universe A, David's negativity bias is running the show. He opens his eyes, immediately thinks about the massive presentation he has at 10 a.m., and his stomach clenches. He stumbles into the kitchen to make coffee and realizes he's out of his favorite creamer. Of course, he mutters, today's already going to be one of those days. He gets in the shower and the water takes a full minute to get hot. He's fuming, thinking about the water bill and how the plumbing needs to be fixed. He gets dressed, spills a small drop of coffee on his shirt. Unbelievable. He frantically dabs at it, now running 5 minutes behind schedule. He gets in his car, hits traffic on the freeway. He's gripping the steering wheel, his blood pressure rising with every red taillight. He's cursing the other drivers, the city planners, his own bad luck. He gets to work stressed and agitated. His colleague Sarah says, "Good morning." David just grunts in response. He sits at his desk, opens his email and sees a critical message from his boss. The ancient software in his brain screams, "See? I told you. The tiger is here." The day is a disaster. He spends the rest of the day in a state of reactive high-alert stress. Every minor inconvenience, every little challenge becomes further proof, more evidence, for the case he's been building since the moment he woke up. Today is a bad day. Now let's rewind. Let's look at David in Universe B. He's running a new software. He has committed to the practice of evidence collection. He wakes up at 6:30 a.m. and his first thought is also about the presentation. He feels that familiar knot in his stomach, but then he activates the new program. He takes a breath and asks himself a simple question. What's already going right? He thinks for a second. Well, I didn't oversleep. That's one. And I actually feel rested. That's two. It's small, but it's a start. He goes to the kitchen and sees he's out of creamer. The old thought, of course, flashes in his mind, but he lets it go and replaces it. He sees the black coffee and thinks, okay, a chance to cut back on sugar today. And I have that oat milk I've been meaning to try. He's collecting evidence. He gets in the shower and the water is cold. He shivers, annoyed for a moment, but then he remembers reading that a blast of cold water is actually good for your circulation and wakes you up. He deliberately reframes it. All right, free cryotherapy session to start the day. He's not lying to himself. He's just choosing a different story. He spills the same drop of coffee on his shirt. He still feels a flash of frustration, but instead of letting it spiral, he grabs a Tide pen from his car, fixes it in 10 seconds and thinks, wow, I'm glad I had that. Problem solved. He hits the exact same traffic on the freeway, but instead of fuming, he sees the stopped cars as an opportunity. He thinks, perfect. I was worried I wouldn't have time to mentally rehearse my presentation one last time. He turns down the radio and quietly runs through his key points. The traffic jam is no longer a personal attack. It's a gift of time. He arrives at work calm and centered. When Sarah says, good morning, he smiles and says, hey, you too. It's a great day for a presentation. He opens the same critical email from his boss, but because his stress levels are low, he reads it not as a threat but as information. He sees the problem that needs to be solved, and his mind immediately goes to solutions, not to panic. The rest of his day unfolds. There are still challenges. The presentation has a tough question from a client. Project gets delayed, but David's internal state is completely different. He's not being attacked by his day. He's navigating it. He has spent the morning collecting evidence that things are working out, that he is capable, that he has resources. So when challenges arise, they are just data points to be managed, not catastrophic confirmations of a terrible day. This isn't toxic positivity. Toxic positivity is seeing a house on fire and saying, at least it's warm. That's delusion. Strategic optimism or evidence collection is seeing a house on fire and saying, okay, the house is on fire. Where is the extinguisher? Where is the exit? What resources do I have to handle this? It's about acknowledging the reality of the negative, but then immediately shifting your focus to your power, your resources, and the evidence, however small, that things can and will work out. So how do you start? It's incredibly simple. Set 3 alarms on your phone for today: morning, noon, and late afternoon. When the alarm goes off, stop what you're doing for just 60 seconds and ask yourself that one question. What evidence can I find that this day is working in my favor? Maybe it's the fact that you got a green light when you were in a hurry. Maybe it's a nice comment someone left on your social media. Maybe it's just the taste of your coffee, or the fact that the sun is shining. Write it down. Acknowledge it. You are literally training your brain's reticular activating system, the part that filters information, to start seeking out the positive. You are telling your internal search engine to stop searching for proof my life is stressful, and start searching for proof I am capable and things are okay. First, it will feel forced. It will feel like a lie. Your old software will fight back. But every time you do it, you are carving a new neural pathway. You are laying down new code. Over time, you won't even need the alarms. Your brain will just start doing it automatically. It will start presenting you with evidence of the good, just as easily as it once presented you with evidence of the bad. This single shift changes everything. Doesn't change your circumstances, but it changes your experience of your circumstances. And that, in the end, is the only thing we truly have control over. This is the foundation upon which all the other tips are built. Because you can drink all the water, take all the walks, breathe all the air, and connect with all the people you want. But if the lens you're looking through is permanently smudged with negativity, the world will always look dark. Cleaning that lens is the ultimate act of wellness. It's what allows you to not just get through the day, but to truly live it. And when you combine this mental reframing with the physical and social habits we've talked about, you create a powerful self-reinforcing system for a life with less stress and more joy. But making it all stick, turning these tips from a one-time experiment into a lifelong practice, that requires a final, crucial piece of the puzzle. That final piece isn't another hack, another app, or another productivity system. It's a mindset shift so profound it can feel like cheating. It's the glue that holds everything together when life inevitably tries to pull it all apart. This fifth and final tip is to practice radical self-compassion. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Compassion? That sounds soft, fluffy. In a country built on grit, on pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, on the relentless pursuit of more, compassion for yourself can sound like an excuse, like letting yourself off the hook. But I'm here to tell you it is the single most powerful tool for resilience you can possibly develop. It's not about being soft, it's about being smart. It's the difference between a system that shatters under pressure and one that bends, adapts, and grows stronger. Let me tell you a story. When I first started trying to build these habits into my own life, I was a tyrant. I had a checklist, a spreadsheet. I was going to be the perfect wellness practitioner. My morning routine was timed to the second. 5-minute sunrise? Check. Hydration? Check. Journaling? Check. My meals were pristine. My evening wind down was a work of art. For about 4 days I was a wellness god. I felt invincible. And then on day 5 it all fell apart. I hit snooze one too many times. I missed the sunrise completely. Rushing, I grabbed a coffee and a protein bar, and ate it while scrolling through emails, my heart already pounding. I got home late, exhausted, and the idea of an analog hour felt laughable. I ordered a pizza and fell asleep on the couch watching cable news. My first thought when I woke up the next morning wasn't, okay, new day, new start. It was, you failed. You're a fraud. You can't even stick to a simple plan for a week. What's the point of even trying? That inner critic, the one that so many of us in America have honed into a razor-sharp weapon, just went to town. It told me I was undisciplined, that I lacked willpower, and that I was destined to be a stressed-out mess forever. And for 2 weeks I believed it. I abandoned everything. The stress came roaring back, worse than before, because now it was layered with a thick coating of shame. It was only when I was talking to a mentor, complaining about my failure, that he stopped me. He said, "What would you say to a friend who told you that story?" And I paused. I'd never say that to a friend. I'd say, hey, you had a tough day. It happens to everyone. You were tired. Don't worry about it. Just having the intention is amazing. Why don't you just try for the sunrise tomorrow and see how it feels? And in that moment, it was like a lightning bolt. Why was I willing to offer that grace, that understanding, that compassion to literally anyone else on the planet, but not to myself? That's the core of self-compassion. It's treating yourself with the same kindness, concern, and support you'd show to a good friend. It has 3 core components: mindfulness of your own suffering, a sense of common humanity, recognizing that everyone struggles and makes mistakes, and self-kindness, which is actively comforting yourself. This isn't an excuse to be lazy. It's the exact opposite. Research from leading psychologists like Dr. Kristen Neff shows that people who practice self-compassion are actually more motivated. They have less fear of failure, because they know a misstep isn't a catastrophe. They're more likely to try again, to learn from mistakes, and to take on new challenges. Self-criticism paralyzes you with fear and shame. Self-compassion gives you the courage to get back up. In the American context, this is a revolutionary act. We are steeped in a culture of relentless self-improvement that often borders on self-flagellation. We see the highlight reels on social media and compare them to our behind-the-scenes reality. We're told to hustle harder, sleep less, and optimize every second. The message is clear. If you're not perfect, you're failing. Your inner critic becomes the drill sergeant screaming in your ear, and you think that's what's motivating you. But it's not. It's just burning you out. Radical self-compassion is the antidote. It's the quiet voice that says, you're human. You're doing your best with what you have. It's okay to not be okay. It's the permission slip you write for yourself to be imperfect. Now let's zoom out and see how this master key unlocks the full power of the other 4 tips. Think about it. Our first tip, the 5-minute sunrise. What happens when it's raining? Or you oversleep? The self-critical voice says, See? You blew it. The whole day is ruined. The self-compassionate voice says, that's okay. I can still take 5 deep breaths by the window. I'll aim for the sunrise tomorrow. Which voice do you think makes you more likely to actually build a long-term habit? Or our second tip, the single-tasking meal. You're halfway through your lunch, and you realize you've been mindlessly scrolling Instagram the entire time. The inner critic shrieks. You have no self-control. You can't even do this one simple thing right. The self-compassionate voice gently says, look at that. I slipped into an old habit. Let me put the phone down and really savor these last few bites. It turns a moment of failure into a moment of mindful re-engagement. What about the commute walk? You're swamped at work and you can't get away. Self-criticism says, you're lazy. You're letting your health slide. Self-compassion says, this is a really demanding day. I'll do some stretches at my desk and make sure I get that walk in tomorrow. It adapts. It understands context. And the analog hour? You're exhausted and the only thing you have energy for is zoning out to a show. The old script is one of guilt. The new self-compassionate script says, my brain needs a break. Rest is also productive. I'll read a book tomorrow night. Do you see the pattern? Self-compassion is the operating system that runs all the other programs. Without it, each failure is a fatal error that crashes the whole system. With it, each stumble is just a data point. A moment to learn, adjust, and continue forward with kindness. It transforms this journey from a rigid pass/fail test into a flexible lifelong practice. So here is my challenge to you. Not to perfectly implement all 5 of these tips starting tomorrow. That is a recipe for failure. My challenge is to pick one. Just one. Maybe it's just stepping outside for a few minutes in the morning. Maybe it's putting your phone away for one meal. Commit to trying that one small thing. And here's the most important part, when you forget, when you get it wrong, when you have a day where it all goes out the window, and you will, because you are a living, breathing human being, I want you to pause. I want you to take a breath. And I want you to say to yourself, out loud if you have to, the same thing you would say to a friend you cherish. It's okay. You had a tough day. Let's try again tomorrow. That is the work. That is the practice. It's not about building a perfect, stress-free day. That doesn't exist. It's about building a more resilient, forgiving, and compassionate relationship with the one person you are guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with, yourself. The stress of American life isn't going to disappear overnight. The deadlines, the bills, the noise, that's all part of the landscape. But you don't have to let it colonize your inner world. By starting your day with intention, by reclaiming your focus during meals, by moving your body, by disconnecting from the chaos, and by wrapping all of it in a profound, unshakable sense of self-compassion, you build a fortress of calm inside of you. You create a space where you can weather the storms, a place you can always return to. You stop seeing stress as a personal failing and start seeing it as an external force you are fully equipped to manage. You stop striving for a perfect life and start creating a peaceful one. And that, right there, is the ultimate freedom. Thank you for spending this time with me. Be kind to yourself.